Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Rebelwatch. I'm your host, Campbell Holmes. Alongside me is sports reporter SAWYER, TAYE Coleman, and Henry Stewart. Walker is out sick today, so Henry is filling in. Thank you so much for filling in, Henry. We're excited to talk about all things Ole Miss sports today. We're going to start off with Ole Miss men's basketball, which we need to talk about. We had some pretty tough losses. We talked about how last week Vanderbilt was a must-win. We obviously had some losses before that, and this one would get us over that hump. We are still very much deep in the hump, I would say. And, we'll talk about Vanderbilt first and then Auburn in a second. But the Vanderbilt one was just a little scary because we're down by 19 points in the first half. We get back up, obviously. But just seeing them have to struggle that much with a team like that was very hard to watch. How were y'all thinking they were doing throughout that entire game?
I want to give some credit to Vanderbilt, in all honesty. This is a team that's led by first-year head coach Mark Byington, who came over from JMU, brought a lot of his players, a lot of his staff, and Vanderbilt has only lost 2 games at home this season, and they upset number 7 Texas A&M in College Station last night, 86-84. Byington last season at JMU led the Dukes to a 31-4 record. They won the Sun Belt and then upset number 5 seed Wisconsin in the NCAA tournament. Vanderbilt's a good team, and to go on there and Vanderbilt has only lost 2 games at home this season. So this is a very, very solid Vanderbilt team. That was on full display. Juan Magnan had a huge game for the Commodores, so obviously it sucks that the Rebels lose, but at the end of the day, Vanderbilt's still a really good team.
They definitely are. I was very vocal last week about playing with aggression after the state loss especially. I think Vanderbilt rose to our level of aggression in that game, and I think you can see that a little bit because we come out the gate playing good basketball, but they just played very well and matched that. So we're down a lot. But there's one specific part of the game I want to talk about, and that's with about 6 minutes to go, freshman Tyler Tanner had that massive, crazy dunk. And right after that, about 30 seconds later, we had a turnover, and they went down and had a deep 3-point shot that they made. We call a timeout there. You have a decision to make as the players on the floor. You have a decision to make as far as how are you going to come out after this timeout. Are you going to stay down, or how are you going to react? And we ended up going on a 16-5 run, and that run ended up resulting into a 30-10 run that led until about 5 minutes into the second half. I say all that to say we can respond to adversity. We can respond when our back is against the wall. You even see that against Auburn. We played good basketball. The fact of the matter is, when it mattered most, the last 4 minutes of the game, we just didn't do that. We traded punches with them throughout the second half, but we just could not play good basketball in the last 4 minutes of this game. But all in all, I think it's a great showing. I think it's a great test to adversity.
Yeah, I was just going to say, last week I emphasized really when it's an even court how we got to play, and they didn't really come out. This is our second time we've had a 3-game losing streak this season, but if you look back at it, last time we came out, we learned from it, and so with these next games coming forward, Tennessee, Florida, both top 5 teams, I feel like, yes, it was a bad game, Auburn, bad game, Vandy, but we got to move forward going into the tournament. That's behind us. We got some even harder competition coming up, so I feel like we got to kind of kick that one under the rug a little bit and just keep going moving forward.
For sure. And, even with all of the mistakes and, just the adversity, like you said, in the Vanderbilt game, I talked about how I thought Malik Dia would be a key player in that game. And he went and got his career high. He went and got those 22 points. He was absolutely dominant. I thought, he really showed up and showed out. Whenever he scored, it was like Vanderbilt scored with all his family and friends there from home. I was really proud of him, honestly. Loss aside, that was great. And Sean Padula, again, he is a finalist for the
Howell
Trophy Award. I forgot what name it was. Howell Trophy Award. I think he's been doing great. And, even in the Auburn game, he led us. He had the most points. So, even with the losses in the column, I still think we're seeing improvements with players. Like, the beginning of the season, we weren't really thinking about Sean Padula and Malik Dia. We were thinking about Matthew Morrell, Jamin Brakefield.
Yep.
We're seeing improvement from players we were not talking about at the beginning of the season, which I think is great.
Yeah, going back to Malik, I feel like that's nerve-wracking having so much pressure on one game. It's a legacy game. This is where you start your career. So the fact that he was able to have the offensive performance he had was amazing. That step back 3 without jumping is crazy. That takes skill. That was flow state basketball I saw. Not even just scoring, but rebounding, good defense, blocking. He was hustling. He played good basketball. And going back to the guards, like you said, Campbell, Padula and Murray did an amazing job forcing Jason Edwards to earn every basket. He was at the free throw line hands on his knees, bent down because he's so tired of the pressure and the on-ball pressure we put on him the entire game. So I think the guard stepped up. And once again, I just want to reiterate, this is not a bad loss. We played a lot of good basketball versus Vanderbilt. It's overshadowed by the lackluster last 5-minute interval of the game. But all in all, we traded punches with Vanderbilt the entire second half of this basketball game. This was a very good showing. I hate that the team that was next on the schedule is Auburn, but we played good basketball for the most part. It's just when it matters most, we didn't do that. And like we've been saying on this show, consistency, consistency, consistency. And that has to be reiterated.
For sure. You know, we just talked about Vanderbilt. We're going to be talking about Auburn, the loss. It's okay. We saw some improvements again. Henry's going to give us some top plays. We'll be back after this break. Watch. We are now going to talk about the Auburn game. We have some top plays we're going to talk about. You know, like I said, you know, we're seeing improvements even with losses, and I still think that is positivity. Obviously, we have Oklahoma and Tennessee coming up, but first, let's look at some top plays with Henry at set. Henry, let's hit it.
Here we go. Sorry about that. Yeah, it was not a good night for the Rebels, unfortunately, on the Plains. A 30-point loss, the biggest of the season. The biggest loss previously was to Memphis by 17 in the Mid-South rivalry. Here we go on a breakaway, pushing it up the floor, kick out, going to Matthew Morrell in the corner, doing what he does best, knocks down the three, and puts the Rebels back within 8. That was one of the closest points of the game. Kick it back now, second half, up and in, a huge slam. Helps push the lead back out farther for the Tigers. Just couldn't play defense, unfortunately. Chris Beard said it best that, quote, the defense was non-existent, and that was absolutely the case, as you saw there. Down low, scrapping, fighting for it, knocked out, picked up Malik Diaz, still fighting for it, gets it to roll and rattle in. A little bit too late. Too little too late, as the Rebels again would fall by 30. Dominant win for the Tigers, unfortunately, on Wednesday night. The Rebels, unfortunately, 3-game skid now. They've got to rebound, got to step it up. They've got a home matchup with Oklahoma on Saturday at 1 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time, and the game will be broadcast on ESPN2. Thanks, guys. Back to you at the desk.
Thanks so much, Henry. We apologize again for the technical difficulties before that, but let's keep talking about the Auburn game. You know, like we talked about last week, Auburn is just so good. I can't wait to see them in March Madness. I really can't. They're fun to watch. You know, obviously not against the Rebels, but they're a good team. I can't lie. How are y'all feeling about that game?
I'll say, yeah, they're a good team. They got a lot of momentum going for them. They can carry that really well. They're explosive. They're very physical. Broom, obviously, we saw him play very dominant, 24 points. Baker Mazzara, 22 points in that game. They got a lot of playmakers, and then as well as they have those playmakers that constantly, like me and Taye say, consistency, always play well every game, but that team chemistry, they dominated down low, they dominated the perimeter, 5 corner threes, so they're able to swing the ball. They've just got this click to them going, and like you said, it's going to be really fun to see how they kind of carry that into the tournament. One
more thing I want to add is their offensive rebounds and their ability to just attack underneath the basket in the paint. They will not let one shot get... Like, if it's not going in the basket, guess what? Because they're underneath that basket getting it so they can get a second chance points, which I think the Rebels have had a really hard time producing this season.
Yes.
For some reason, our defense will be really good at one point, but then all of a sudden nobody is there to catch the rebound. And, not every basket's going to go into the basket. And so, I don't know. Tay, how are you feeling?
I was going to say, not to cut you off.
Yeah.
They light a little fire under their rear, and they just get going. They're high motor, high strung, always, always, always. I think Rebs could take a few notes on that because offensively, they feel like we shoot and we kind of take a step back and kind of fall back on D, but it's like we got a game to play. Keep going. We got to go make that intensity. But
Exactly.
Just on another note, like the unfortunate circumstance of playing a baseline switch-heavy defense is that you don't have guys in the paint to grab that rebound, so you can go sprint down on the other end of the court and try to score in transition. But just in general, it's just very unfortunate that we had this Vanderbilt game come and then have the have this Auburn team who's pretty much playing their best basketball, and you're playing against the NCAA Player of the Year, Johnny Broome. They just play tremendous on-ball defense. They constantly put us in pressure. And if you don't believe me, check the box score because our entire team had a negative plus-minus, right? We couldn't do anything. You pair that along with a 60% field goal shooting night for Auburn, a 7-foot, fifth-year senior, a guy who's dominating so bad that he can throw his wristband off in the middle of a play and still go score. It's going to get ugly. And, I mean, he had Dre Davis out there looking like he was 6'6", 6'7". Like, it was that bad.
Yeah, and we've been, saying how amazing Dre Davis has been in the past few games, but when you play the number one team in the country, it's not going to look that surprising and pretty.
But the good thing is, what the box score will not show you is that we did have a 24-8 run. Once again, at the end of the first half, we were down by 10 actually going into the second half. So once again, it's a lot to be happy about, a lot to look not to be happy about, but a lot to look at and a lot to go back to the drawing board on. I don't think anybody in the country thought we were going to go at Auburn and beat them at home with the atmosphere, with the crowd being into it and playing the best team in the country. But, there's still some good to take away. Another thing, this was a great opportunity to allow young guys like Klofke, Bowl, and Cowherd to go in and get quality playing time against the best team in the country. Who knows the impact that could have on their development as players. So I think it was all in all, in every game, you have something good you can look at. But, yeah, we just got dominated, and you have to take this into Oklahoma, and you have to take it personally because we keep going to March, which is next up. You have to be ready to play really good basketball teams.
Exactly, and every conference win counts. And I think that, going into Oklahoma, it's going to be at home. We haven't been home in 2 weeks. Right. Last one was State, obviously a great game. I think people are, fans and students are going to take these last few losses personally. Come in, cheer the guys on like Ole Miss students do. You're always behind them no matter what, and just keep them going. And I do think that this team really, really carries that energy on their back and goes with it. I do think us being at home is going to help Oklahoma and Tennessee a lot. But I also think offensive rebounds are going to help a lot too. So, how are y'all feeling about that game?
Going into Oklahoma?
Yeah.
I think it's a good thing, right? Like you said, the biggest factor here is that we're at home, but OU's on the bubble. Like they're fighting to make the tournament. They are fighting, and they just played Kentucky very close, and they also played Mississippi State very close. So you have to be ready for that. You got to have short-term memory going into a game like this because you just got your butts kicked against Auburn, right? So you got to be ready for that. I think once again it's a lot of pressure, not only offensively on Padula and Murray, but defensively, right? You have freshman Jeremiah Fears who can score the basketball in so many different ways. You have to limit him. And then also on the defensive end, you have the forwards who have to guard their OU starting small forward right now, right? You have to be ready to guard him because they can both score and they can both hurt you. And once again, they played really good fundamental basketball teams who don't turn the ball over a lot very closely. So I think that's something that you have to be ready for because if you go into this game still worried about what happened last week, OU can definitely upset us.
For sure.
I would say I agree. Sweep it under the rug, flush it. Short-term memory loss. Got to have that fire. We got 3 games left, and like you were saying, this Ole Miss team is a really good team. One of the better teams we've seen in the last couple of years here, and we're almost on that bubble. We're so close to being a really good, solid team. We're making the tournament. We're going to be a 5, 6, 7 seed, probably 5 or 6 seed, and we're so close. So this last 3 games, like you said, students. They're going to be right there. Everybody wants it so badly, so they just got to go out and perform the next Oklahoma. They're not the best team on paper, but like Tay said, Mississippi State, Kentucky games, they're right there with them. So these next 30 games are really going to test us and be a good showing for what we're going to look like
And
in March.
I think you do that by playing to your strengths.
Right.
I've been seeing recently we've been making very sloppy and very unsolicited turnovers that like inbound turnovers and just small things that we usually don't do. The biggest strength of this Ole Miss basketball team is that we don't turn over the ball.
Which wasn't happening earlier.
You have to play to that. You have to play to your strengths. And also, I love the aggression we've been playing with, but we also haven't been playing smartly aggressive, right? We foul a lot. We've been getting these teams easy free throws when, if we just played a little bit, harness that energy, harness that physicality, maybe we're in a different situation. So I think playing to our strengths is of most importance. If we already know we can't rebound, okay, you better hustle and do everything else on the offensive end. Or you better make sure you play sound defense. If you can't have a good shooting night, go on the other end of the floor. Like, I saw that from Klofke against Vanderbilt. He did nothing offensively, but defensively he made plays and he got steals. So just all in all, to summarize, I'd say play to your strengths. Do what you do best.
For sure. The game will be at 1 on Saturday at the Pavilion. Be there. When we come back, we're going to be switching it to women's basketball. They have a game versus South Carolina. We'll talk about that. We'll be right back.
The dynamic freshman is starting to make his impact. Dagger with the shot clock down to 1. That 3-ball drops for Jamin Brakefield. Fagan from the corner with a triple. Burrell for 3, and that's a big response. 3-ball, yes. This shooting lights out of the Pavilion. Ed, give him one more. Wow, alley-oop. Well, you can't teach that. Well, that should give Ole Miss a boost.
NewsWatch is a student-run newscast that goes live every week, Monday through Thursday at 5 o'clock.
NewsWatch is more than just a college team. It is an immersive learning experience. You learn certain skills that help you in your future journalism career.
Rebelwatch is just a cool experience because I want to do something in the sports world. So just to get the chance to do that on a platform like this, it's just a great opportunity.
We are the only live station in the Oxford-Lafayette area, with Tupelo being the closest. We cover all local news.
Welcome back. We're now going to be talking about the women's team at Ole Miss. They play a big game tonight, their last home regular season game against South Carolina. It's going to be a huge game for them. I think they've been impressing me this season. Madison Scott especially, she always impresses me. She's a finalist for the Gillum Award this year. She is just, continuing to impress. How have y'all been feeling about this team this season?
Good. I just think it's still, they've been doing well recently since the last time we talked about them, but I still think it's a matter of just finishing games. I think they're developing that identity. I think they're getting ready. But you have a great opportunity to go fix some loose screws in these last 2 games against really good opponents like South Carolina and LSU. Go ahead, go shock the world. Go beat South Carolina at home in front of your home fans, right? What better momentum can you have going into a tournament so prevalent as March Madness with a win against well-renowned, respected South Carolina on your back? Go do that, especially in the home crowd, especially with the fans. I definitely think it's possible. Like I said, this team is developing an identity. They've made a lot of good changes since the last time we spoke on them. And so I think it's just a matter of fixing loose screws.
I think they have gotten, through that identity of finishing games. I mean, they beat Missouri only by 2.
Yeah.
In last second.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
I was going to say, Madison Scott, like you said, leading the team, 12 points, shooting 47% from the line. They do have 2 final games, almost to 20 wins this season. I feel like if we can close out, like you said, Tay, again, same with our men's team, about 5-6 seed in the tournament. I think just finishing, we don't have to go win these games. I think we got to go play well, play fundamentally good, and be able to carry that into the tournament in the next 2 weeks.
Definitely.
100% agree with you. Another player I want to highlight, obviously Madison Scott, just terrific, but Star Jacobs, she had 22 points, 4 rebounds against Missouri, was the driving force in that victory for the Rebels against the Tigers.
She's been adding those double-doubles to her
She
career.
has. It's been incredible to watch, and credit to her and to Coach Yo and really the whole staff. I mean, they've really found a place for her and allowed her to really excel this season. I would look for her to be another big option against the Gamecocks tonight.
For sure. We're excited for them. We're going to take a short break, and we're going to be talking about Ole Miss baseball. They continue to impress us, so we'll talk about them. We'll be back.
Going to be a hot one out there for move-in weekend, Ole Miss. Good luck this year, Red.
You did it. You're home. I can't wait for you to discover the true meaning of Hotty Toddy. It's a cheer that connects us all to the red and blue. It's the moment that begins when you step on campus and continues long after you turn your tassel. I can't wait for you to discover your legacy and make the world a better place. Are you ready?
Hi, my name is Lars Roberts. I'm the director of the Student Media Center on the Ole Miss campus. We have a lot of vintage Ole Miss yearbooks available for you. If you're missing a yearbook from whenever you were a student on this great campus, or you know someone who was an alum, go to the Ole Miss Marketplace website and order a yearbook that you can either pick up at the Student Media Center or have delivered directly to you. If you need a yearbook from 2008 or 1988, we have it for you. Books are either $25 or $35 depending on the year that you want. Go to this link, choose your book, choose whether or not you want to have it delivered, and it'll be in your mailbox in a matter of days.
Everyone has a ritual, that small thing that keeps us focused. A habit we never skip to clear our minds and elevate our performance.
But what do you do to keep your head in the game, to drown out the self-doubt and support your mental health? Because being your best isn't just about taking care of your body.
It's about taking care of your mind and mental health. Discover the resources you need to keep your mind focused and your mental health a priority.
Welcome back. We're now going to be talking about Ole Miss baseball. They continue to impress. They're keeping Swayze hot. Hopefully they keep it going this weekend. One player I want to talk about is Judd Utermark. He continues to surprise me. And, no offense to him, but I wasn't really looking for him preseason. I wasn't expecting to be talking about him. So, he's been putting up great numbers. How have y'all been feeling about this team so far?
I love Judd Utermark. He went to high school at Charlotte Christian, right down the road from where I grew up, from where I live in Charlotte, and he has the North Carolina state record for home runs. So I had a feeling he was going to have a big season this year. And after Tuesday's performance against Southern Miss, I'm very, very happy with how he's been playing this season. Michael Hawley as well, just a terrific game, and just real good hitting for the Rebels right now. But Judd, he's been killing it.
I was going to say, I'm really excited to see Hunter Elliott back on the mound. First start in Swayze in about 700 days. It's about 2 years. He's 6 scoreless innings, 3 hits, 10 Ks, got the W. Looked really good on the mound, looked very poised, looked very confident, back out there. Looking good so far to start the season for him, yeah.
Yeah, I think the Southern Miss game was amazing, especially being at home. But, playing a ranked team, you need that. And this was just a very good win. We hit the ball very well. Within the first 5 innings, we had 10 points on the board. We dominated them. I think we did a great job, right? The biggest discrepancy I had and a lot of other fans had going into this game was getting runners off the bases past home plate. And I think our base runners this game did a great job of not only stealing, but just making efforts to get to the next base over. So I think that was a great job. The biggest game-defining moment I have, though, personally, is top of the 6th. USM basically has bases loaded, no outs, and Braden Jones, relief pitcher, comes in, and he pitches us out of that hole. And I think that changed the momentum and allowed us to finish this game off and allow us to dominate how we did late in this game. So all in all, it's been some amazing baseball. And I will say, this was probably the best batting lineup we've had this season, and I think we should probably continue with it. I really enjoyed it. I think it was a little bit of everything, and just a great game overall.
It was a good, smooth lineup. Austin Foley had 4 RBIs that game. He had a home run. Owen Peña's first collegiate home run. That was a good shot. Also to mention, back in the other series, Will Furnace getting hot. Get the Furnace logo.
Don't forget about Sanford now. Hey, my guy, Sanford hit one out the park.
He did.
He hit one out the park against Southern Miss.
We're going to talk about the cream unis as well for the Ole Miss Rebs.
Gorgeous,
Did we like those? Did we like those thoughts?
Gorgeous.
I like them. I'll
They're
put
clean.
some hate
They're
on
clean.
them, but I think they're good. One thing I do want to point out just real fast, Ole Miss left 32 runners stranded on base in the weekend series against Eastern Kentucky. Granted, they won all those games and scored 8 runs in all of them, but they were much better about getting runners back at home plate against Southern Miss, and you got to do that against a team that's a rival in a way and another top 25 opponent. So massive improvement so far from the Rebels.
Yes.
For sure, and I'm excited for this weekend too because I think it's going to continue to give us those home practices for these bigger games that are going to come. Not saying these are not important, I'm just saying I think these games like this at the beginning of the season are really important for us to get their feet wet, just be able to practice before these, big games that will essentially lead us to big tournaments.
Exactly.
Wright State should be fun.
Should be fun. Only thing I got to say, though, is like the fielding versus Southern Miss. I don't know if it was because we went from playing bad teams to really good. The fielding was a little wild, but I think it's going to definitely get fixed.
I was going to say the slow choppers, the second, couldn't field those, 1 to short, 1 to third.
A lot of errors.
We had like 4 errors in that game, and it wasn't the hardest plays, little low choppers. I think they're trying to get going too fast.
Even right field.
Yeah, it was just a little sloppy, but hopefully they fix that up. Had a good practice this week.
Yeah,
hopefully fix things up.
Mitchell Sanford's been terrific, but he was having a little bit of trouble in right field. No doubt in my mind he's going to bounce back. Have a big time series against Wright State this weekend.
He's having a great year.
No question he'll bounce back.
For sure. We have a Rebel-filled weekend coming up again. Baseball, they have a series at home and basketball at home. That is all we have for tonight. Thank you so much for tuning in. Again, I'm your host, Campbell Holmes. Alongside me, Sawyer Ravino, TAYE Coleman, and Henry Stewart. Thank you so much for tuning in, and tune in next week. Good night, everybody. High five, Henry. Good job. That was awesome. I did it. Oh my God, it went black as soon as I did. I wonder if people actually watch that.